the non-whitelisted life mod installed islands on the internet, Altus has the longest and richest history. A golden age ushered in by a king, a great leader, warrior, and ship's captain, saved personally by a god, and went forth to found a dynasty. King Swaggington of the House Bacchus. It was a time where one false step could lose meth cartel, and one bad day the entire server. When the lines between good and evil were crookedly drawn. To truly understand this age, we must travel further, before LifeMod was installed, when the internet was first born. It was an innocent time of new opportunities. Streamable pornography had not yet been invented, yet users still flocked. Computerologists describe it as a dark, empty cavern filled with floating bits of information. We found ourselves wandering about the noise for anything to digest. In this new strange landscape, shrouded in shadow, we became dizzy and lost and wanting companionship. Chat rooms and naked digital picture transfer were invented simultaneously. The single becomes the many. Just as one pure man founded Altus. Hey man, it's my butt. Generations pass. Populations grow. And in growth grows corruption. A great evil was to enter the lives of online users. As our complexity grew, we created wonderful machines, but corrupt souls changed the colors and sold them as downloadable content, the backlash of which is the beginning of the internet hate machine. We had evolved to eat one another. Gone were the virginal days of a naive internet, and so started the evolutionary race that branches into griefing, pooning, and trolling. But all was not lost. Strange and wonderful personalities still found a way through, and in their connection together happened a beautiful circumstance. As if two souls found each other in the complete darkness of broadband and formed friendship in the digital world. Hardened by experience and hate speech, we set out to find a new game to play. The Golden Age of Altis is credited to one man, King Swaggington Bacchus I, epithet the Great, whose line of succession built nearly every historical structure still standing on Altus today, most famously the Holy Asylum Castle in Kavala, a city which in ancient times had no rival, and which a level of development and grandeur have not been reached since. And it began with one man, an elected monarch, that would march from these fated gates and into the pages of history. But he would have to conquer Kavala. On the day of his coronation, King Swegington famously ordered the assembly of the army. His first strike was a fatal blow against the populist uprising of Mr. 9mm. If the young warrior king were to partake in the great Crusades against the FSA, he would need to settle his affairs. With all cartels owned on Server 3, King Bacchus, the most accomplished seaman of his era, bravely captained his ship to the FSA Holy Server No. 2, where Bilal Bilibad's army awaited him. The Crusaders landed and quickly advanced along the river inland.
Ride to victory, men!
The king's army rode through Syrian lines as if desert brush. A force on the battlefield, he is credited with felling over 1,000 complete noobs, dismantling numerous counteroffensives, capturing strategic locations from fearsome foe. All indication was that of victory, but Bilal Bilibad was a keen leader, not yet ready to give up. The Crusaders were being led inland and surrounded, forcing King Swegington to challenge himself in single combat against FSA's greatest champion. The entire invasion was at stake. The fighting was fierce. Before the battle had been concluded, Bilal Bilibad could see that King Swegington was the greater warrior and retreated his army in advance across the river. King Swegington quickly contained his new conquest, and the army then prepared for their journey home to Altis. They planned to sail the same course they'd used to arrive, expecting to see their beloved homeland in a matter of days. But the journey suffered strange anomalies that made them lost for months. Times were at their bleakest, and strength and resolve were tested. The legends proclaim that Pestiarus, living god of Altus, lifted the vessel holding King Swegington from the water and led his army home to safety. The men knelt and prayed to the man-sized sword stuck in the godfish's back. It became a symbol of their religion devoted to the Parathon. Great temples, long since toppled, towered toward the sky. Along with an industrial awakening, the whole of Altus was enjoying a seemingly never-ending summer. But all things come to an end. And as the old fades, the new begins to take form. Altus stands at a crossroads, a precipice. For ages, a line of kings anointed by a living god have guided Altian development. But a new force, a product of a thriving player base, would destroy much to solidify their rule. With censorship technology, culminating in the inevitable administrative coup and the execution of King Frederico,
Hey, fuck you, man!
last Swagtonian king of Altus.
Get your fucking hands off me. I fuck your mother.
For the first time, Altus was subject to administrative rule, and they would enact laws that strove to form Altians into imprisoned. The Mr. 9mm Democratic Revolt tried to address the issue.
This guy is weird.
And this struggle for freedom is no no longer a struggle. There's no longer a fight, no longer a goal or a future, but the past and the present.
He was the first to be banned, along with his followers. His beloved Bess tried to rally support from the servers to the west, but to no avail. She was ruthlessly banned. The administratives had total control over the lives of Altians, forcing faithful Parisians to worship in secret chapel, but nothing would save them from the tidal wave of bannings. The administration pushed them into the sea as a sign of power. Pestiarus tried to save as many as he could, but was encumbered by parasites, what appeared to be suckerfish, actually an evolved insect that eat brains. Admini pestiarus, or the admini fish, dwell in the underwater tentacled penis caves off the Hentai coast and attach themselves to the Pestiarus as he migrates north. They use psychosomatic waves to control their host into biased thinking, obtuse abuses of power, and cronyism. The psychomagnetic energy over the island is clashing in explosive power. The Pestiarus nears the surface, rarely seen at these shallow depths, only breaching in times of distress. It appears he has come to the surface to shed his admini fish parasites. Admini fish cannot survive in direct daylight, evolving in the complete darkness of the Great Mother Ocean's basement. Perhaps now, without the admini pestiarus parasitic influence, a new day may dawn for Altus, where freedom, logic, and rule of the people remain supreme and reawakens the industrious spirit of her indefatigable gang warfare and role-playing.
Sensitivity is standard, and faith is being fancied over reason. Darwin's rolling over in his coffin. The fittest are surviving much less often. Now everything seems to be reversing, and it's worsening. Someone flopped a steamer in the gene pool. Now angry mob mentality is no longer the exception, it's the rule. And I'm starting to feel a lot like Charlton Heston, stranded on a primate planet. culture. The idiots are taking over. 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 The idiots are taking over.
We must be taking over.
The idiots are taking over. The idiots are taking over.
Some his brains, Doctor.
No, that's just dried blood.
And peace be with you.
What is asylum worth?
Nothing. Everything.
Goddamn bugs whacked his job.